what's the role of this evidence and how important is it to, to be collecting it? It's critical. If you do not collect evidence on whether or not what you are experiencing in the larger conscious system, whether or not your remote viewing or your healing is actually working, you'll never know whether what you're doing is real, in the sense it's the data you're getting is from outside of you, or whether what you're doing is self-created. The data that you're getting is manufactured by your own imagination. It is not easy to tell the difference between those two. Data is data. Whether the data comes out of your own imagination or comes from someplace else, you receive it as data and interpret it and work on it. And it's not until you have many, many hours of experience in the larger conscious system can you really differentiate between these two different sources of data. The only way to do that is to do the experiments yourself. You have to try the healing, the remote viewing, the reading numbers in envelopes, the diagnosing. All of these things are things that you can check on later. Now, once you are convinced that you have collected enough data, these things are real, you will find that you've actually gotten very good at it, because by the time you convince yourself, you've put in hundreds of hours, and you have honed your skills. In other words, you may heal 20 people, and 15 of them got better, and maybe 5 didn't. Then you have to ask yourself, what was different between the 15 that did and the 15 that didn't? What did I do differently? How did I feel differently? How did I approach it differently? What kind of state was I in? Then you try to shift to do more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that doesn't work. And so on it goes. So as you're doing this, it's not just collecting data, but it is improving and honing and focusing your intent and how to do that. You're building up your own technique. Again, you have to build it up yourself out of your own experience. Somebody, you can read about technique in a book, but if it's not yours, it doesn't mean much. You try to do somebody else's technique, it doesn't work nearly as well as if you create your own. Do it your own way, because that's yours. So that's the reason that it's very important to always do research, always check your data, until you are certain that you know what you're doing, until your technique is good enough that you're mostly right. And when you're not right, you know it. Even before you get the data, you know that you weren't doing it right. That's very important. Otherwise, you may be doing something, you may not. You'll just be bouncing around, and you really have a hard time perfecting, focusing, and growing your ability unless you look for evidence. Now, once you get to that point, you don't have to continue to collect evidence forever, because evidence is about interacting with evidence. Is about trying to interact with this physical reality, because it's only in this physical reality where you can collect evidence. See, the evidence is restricted just to things physical, because that's the only thing you can check on. So when you're doing things that don't have a component in the physical reality, when you're doing things that are entirely out of this physical reality, there is no evidence to check. So you have to use the physical reality to build up the skill and the confidence that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, there's no point in going beyond that, because you'll never know what's happening.
When you say techniques, are you talking about tools and helping people develop their own tools? There are many different healing modalities, such as Reiki and different things like that. Do you recommend that they develop their own special set of tools?
Absolutely. Just as we said earlier, if it's not your experience, it's not your truth. If you didn't create the tool, then it's not your tool. It's the same sort of thing. Tools are just devices that we use to help us focus our minds. And everybody's mind is different, and everybody's own experience base is different. You need tools that work with you, in your own style, in your own way. And sometimes I say, kind of half jokingly, but it's serious as well, is that you can, if you want, use a laser light a bright light to burn out one of those dark spots, you know, that represents ill health in a person. You know, and I'm a physicist, so I like lasers and light beams and things like that. But you can just as easily use a fairy wand. Sprinkle fairy dust on the black thing to make it disappear. That will work just as well. There's nothing fundamental about light beams. They're no more fundamental than fairy dust. These are just ideas that help us focus our intent on what we want to have happen. You see? So it's imperative that you make your own tools, because the kind of personality that would find fairy dust effective is the kind of personality that would just never relate to lasers and energy beams. That's too technical. That's too, you know, it's just not right for them. So putting them in a situation of having to use somebody else's tools is not good. Most of my tools are kind of science-based, technical-based, because that's the way I am. But other people's tools need to be the way they are. Tools are important, but you have to understand they're just tools. And you have to understand that when you sign up for these workshops and courses where you learn techniques and how to do stuff, you're learning somebody else's tool set. Well, take that, work with it as you can, but realize you're going to have to modify that. You're going to have to make that your own. You're going to have to adjust it, and you're going to have to customize it to fit yourself. So if they tell you, well, now here's what you do first. You know, first you use your mind for this, and then you do that. Well, you can work with that for a while. Hopefully you'll learn something from it. You'll get a little taste of where it's going. But don't be afraid to change it around to suit you. Again, you have to experiment. You change it around to suit you, see if it works better. If it doesn't work better, put it back the way it was. Try something else. Keep trying things until you find something that's optimal for you. So that's the thing about tools.